Hello and welcome to another episode of the build up to the Euro 2024. The tournament has started, and we have today Trevor Sinclair, who has been a part of the Indian national team also quite a few months back, who has represented so many Premier League clubs like the Queen's Park Rangers, West Ham United, and my favorite Manchester City. And he has also been a part of the English national team. Welcome, Trevor, to Rev Sports, and we are building up to the Euro, though the tournament has already started. But what are your thoughts on this 17th edition of this tournament?
Yeah, listen, I think it should be hi, Rowan. I think it should be a fantastic tournament. I think Germany is a huge country. It's got a lot of tradition in football. Obviously, very successful history in the game, and I think it's going to be an amazing tournament. I'm really looking forward to watching it as a fan. Obviously, an England fan, hoping that England can get the best out of this kind of group of players, talented group of players. I feel they've got the right manager in place, Gareth Southgate. But I think it's going to be a difficult tournament. I think he's got really strong squads. You've got France, you've got Belgium, the Netherlands. There's a lot of strong teams out there. But yeah, I'm really excited for the tournament, and I think it's going to be an excellent viewing for any football fan.
As you mentioned about the squad, you say a balanced squad, but there has been a lot of talks in the media of Southgate leaving out on players like Madison, Grealish, and Rashford. So, what are your thoughts on this bold move by Southgate?
I think it's a tough one. Obviously, there's 26 members in the squad, but I think in that kind of offensive midfield areas in the pitch, we have got so many talented players. I feel for all three players actually, because obviously Rashford's done so well in the past for England. Obviously, done superb at United. Grealish, treble winner from last season, and has had a bit of a more difficult season this season, even though he's still a Premier League winner. And Maddison, with his breakthrough season under Ange Postecoglou at Tottenham, I think he's had an excellent season. But if I'm being honest, the players that are being chosen in front of them, in my opinion, have done better. So you have to, as a manager, you have to be fair to the players, and you have to pick players on form. And I feel the players that have been chosen by Gareth Southgate and his coaching staff are the right players. It's just you can't fit. It just shows the strength and depth in the England national team, playing week in, week out in the Premier League. And yeah, I think it's harsh on the players, but the competition for places is very, very high.
Absolutely. And last year, England, unfortunately, the runners-up. But how do you see England's group this year with Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, and England? How do you see the group, and how far do you think England will go this time?
Well, I think the game tomorrow night is going to be difficult against Serbia. I think they've got good players. Obviously, we know a lot about Mitrovic. He's had a very successful time over in Saudi Arabia in the Kingdom. I think he won the league. He's been scoring for fun. He's always been a very difficult player to play against, whether it's at domestic level or international. He always has that knack of finding the goal. And if you look at one area of the pitch where England could be questioned, I think it's the defensive line. You know, we're missing possibly one of our best talisman in Harry Maguire. Out of blood through being injured and not being fit enough. John's got injury problems. Gay, he's come in and he's done okay, but he's very limited for experience at international level. So I think the Serbians are going to be rubbing their hands and thinking, if we can give the service to Mitrovic, we've got a great chance of scoring against England. It's just, I think England at times are going to have to play a little bit like the Newcastle team of the 90s, where they're going to concede goals. They've got to accept that they're going to concede goals, but they're going to create a lot of chances as well with that talent that they've got at the top end of the pitch.
Okay, and all the three teams in the group, in Group C, Serbia, Denmark, and Slovenia, who do you think will have the chance of hurting England the most in the group stages?
I actually think it's going to be Serbia, for the reasons that I think they've got good quality, they've got good experience in the side. They're coming off the back of a really good win, even though their form's not been great. England are coming off the back of a loss against Iceland. So, yeah, I think going into the game, they'll be confident. They'll understand the strengths that England have got, because obviously the Premier League, all the players are playing in the Premier League, or almost all. You take out Bellingham, who's the Champions League winner, and you take out Kane, who plays in the Bundesliga. But everybody else is playing in the Premier League, and it's the most watched league in the world. So all the players from the Serbian side will understand the strengths that England have got in this side.
Yeah.
But they also understand the weaknesses, and I think that's what will give them hope. But I think Slovenia and Denmark, listen, England are massive favourites for this group to go in as number one after the games, and it just depends on how well we can defend, and not only that, can we be clinical in front of goal? Because, like I said, I think we're going to concede goals, England, just because these group of players not played before. You're playing a right back in the left back position until Luke Shaw becomes fit, so you're playing Trippier probably out on the left back position. You've got Gahey, who's got limited experience. John Stones, who's had a really checkered and difficult season, even though he's the Premier League winner again, he hasn't played as much football as he'd like. So if I'm playing against this England team, I'm thinking, apart from Kyle Walker, obviously we know Kyle Walker's Superman. I'm thinking, let's get out this defence, because if we can get the ball in them areas and get good players in good possession, we can hurt this England side. So I think Serbia are the most dangerous team in this group. But England for sure have got to be favourites going into it, and they've got to feel confident that they can get through this group as leaders.
Okay, and I'll come to the other groups and other teams in this tournament. But as you have been a part of the English national side and you have represented the team in the FIFA World Cup, so give me a sense of the English dressing room in your time, and anyone you know from the current side. How is the mood in the England dressing room usually like?
I think listen, Gareth Southgate was in my squad, so we was in the same squad. And I think one of the biggest problems that we had as players was filling the time. So obviously you go to training, you might do some pre-work in the gym, you go to training, and that's going to take 2.5 hours. The trip there and back, I'm not sure how far the training ground, I think the training ground is where the hotel is, so I don't think there's any travelling. For us, we had about a 20-minute journey when we stayed in Japan. But I think the biggest problem is filling the time for the players so they don't get bored, and you can keep them kind of stimulated. So I think they'll be watching movies, they'll be playing games, they'll be obviously the situation now with the media is a lot better than it used to be. So Gareth understands that it's an important relationship, that he needs to keep the standards and keep that relationship good. So I think there'll be different situations where players will be doing media responsibilities. But he's just trying to keep the boys fresh, trying to keep that boredom away. Listen, when you're training, you make sure the standard's high and the quality's there, the intensity's right, the competition's there, and there's a respect element amongst the group and the coaches. But off the training pitch is more difficult, and I think that's where Gareth will need to have some quite clever people around him, advising him to how he can help the players get over the boredom and the time that they're just going to be kind of chilling around the hotel with nothing to do.
So did you talk to Gareth Southgate in the recent times?
I haven't spoken to Gareth before this tournament. I was down at St George's Park a couple of months ago talking to the technical director. Bumped into Lee Carsley, who's the under-21 manager, had a quick chat with him. So I have been in and around St George's Park, but I haven't seen Gareth or spoken to him. But obviously, I wish him well in the squad, and hopefully they can bring it home.
Okay. Talking about the other groups, I think it's needless to say that Group B is a group of death with Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania. So how do you see the other groups? Who do you think is the group of death, and who do you think is the dark horse? Who can beat the big team, big guns?
Yeah, I think Netherlands. I think they had an impressive victory against Iceland. I think Virgil van Dijk is such a strong personality now. He's had a lot of criticism when he came back from his knee injury after winning the Premier League. He weathered that, and it does take a long time to get over a cruciate ligament injury. But I think he's done that with class. He's done it in a steady way. He's shown consistency, and I think he's that little bit older now, where he feels like a leader and he feels like he wants to inspire this squad. So I think the Netherlands would probably be my dark horses. Like I say, I mean, I wouldn't have said before last night's game against Scotland, where Germany won 5-1, I wouldn't have said they were favourites. You know, you look at the underachievements of Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga season, where a lot of the players play. You look at the form coming into this tournament, and it's not been great. But then they're the home nation. And we all have to remember, the last Euros, England got to the final when they weren't probably as much as some people were, even though they didn't win the final against Italy. I think that home advantage has to be brought into consideration. So I think Germany will be strong. I'm not sure they've got enough to win it, but they will be strong. But again, you've got to go with the usual suspects. France, they're such a strong nation. I think they've got real good quality of players and depth of players in both defence, midfield, and in attack. Mbappe, they've got a lot of experience there as well now. Even in the forward lines, usually you don't associate experienced players being very useful for attacking football. But I just feel with Mbappe, he's still very young, but the players that he's got around him who are experienced still offer a lot of quality and a nice contrast to what Mbappe brings with his pace and his speed. And these bring a little bit more class, nice cultured players. They know their roles. And I think behind that, they've got exceptional players. So France are going to be one of the favourites. And even though Belgium didn't do what we've expected them to do over the last couple of generations or last few tournaments, I just feel there's a little bit less pressure on Belgium this year. I think Kevin De Bruyne, he's right at the top of his game. I think Lukaku, again, he scores goals at an industrial level when it comes to international football. And I think he's going to be a real big problem for defenders to deal with. So I've just got a feeling that Belgium are going to be very, very strong in this tournament as well. So, yeah, listen, a lot of the usual suspects, Spain, if they can get their style of football and start imprinting that on the tournament, they're going to be strong. But I would say France, Belgium, the Netherlands and England would be my favourites.
Okay. Thoughts on Harry Kane? He has been scoring goals for fun, so many goals, moved to Bayern Munich, unfortunately didn't win the league. But how important will Harry Kane's form be for England?
I think it's going to be very, very vital. If you talk about your talisman, your goal scorer, any team that does well, their striker's got to score goals. And if they're not, then you're going to be asking players like Saka, Foden, Gordon, Bellingham to pop, which they can pop in with their goals. But I think if you're looking at your number 9 and you're expecting to go all the way in the tournament and win the Euros, you'd be expecting him to score 4, 5, 6 goals. So he's going to be vital. I think he's had an excellent season. Just tailed off towards the end of the season. I think he had a bit of an injury. But in general, he showcased what we all know. He's a quality number 9. He's going to score goals. And I think with the players that he's got behind him, there's rumours and there's talk coming out of the England camp that Phil Foden's been exceptional. Even the rest of the players can't believe how good he's been in training. So I think it's going to be a really watershed moment for Phil Foden. He's played before. He played Euros last time, but he was still quite young and quite inexperienced. Now he's a Champions League winner. He's a treble winner. He's a 4-time Premier League, serial winner. I'm hoping that he lights fire and he shows the world what he can do, because I've watched him develop over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And he's literally not put a foot wrong, and I hope this can be a real big tournament where he can stamp his authority on this tournament and showcase to everyone what he's got.
Absolutely. I remember seeing Phil Foden in Kolkata in Salt Lake Stadium when he came to India for the Under-17 World Cup. He was fantastic back at that days also. So last few questions.
I remember covering the Under-17s tournament for the BBC. A lot of the players made that progression into this England squad, so it's going to be interesting to see if they can replicate what they did in the Under-17s and take over at least Europe, maybe not the world, but at least Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am rooting really for England, because they have always had the good team. Last year, unfortunately, they came the runners-up, but I really hope England goes the distance this time. Last few questions. There has been talks of Ronaldo playing his last Euro. How important will that be for the tournament itself?
Listen, he's an iconic player. He's a generational player. I think there's very little to split between him and Lionel Messi. I think they've both been incredible ambassadors for the sport of football, and they've made it They've helped make it worldwide. Watch sport is probably one of the most popular sports ever watched over the last 10 years, and it's getting bigger. I think it's iconic. He's a brilliant player. The way that he's got longevity in his career, longevity in playing at the top of his game, longevity in continuing to defy the odds and continuing to score goals. I think he's been an exceptional player. And wherever he's gone, he's been successful. You know, you wouldn't put it past Portugal. They've got a good side, got some really key players. You know, you're looking at Rodri in the midfield. You're looking at the defensive line. They've got a really strong squad, and if they can get that kind of patriotic spirit between that Portuguese side, you know, they've got a lot of pride about playing for the country, and they could be a danger as well. But yeah, no, you know, Ronaldo, iconic player. I'm not sure we'll see the numbers that we've seen come from him again in the future, because it's so difficult to replicate that. But you know, to be able to run Messi so close over the last 15, 20 years for best player in the world between the two of them, exceptional standard.
Absolutely. The final one, I just want to know about how is the mood in England right now with the Euro being just started, and how are the fans, your friends, thinking about it?
Yeah, I think everyone's excited. I think even though the media haven't gone over the top, I think quietly there's a lot of confident fans feeling that we have got great players. You know, sometimes we've gone in the past into tournaments where you feel, yeah, we get to the quarters, we've done really well. But I think genuinely a lot of people believe we've got the weapons to really win this tournament. We got so close against Italy in the Euro final in 2020, and yeah, these players, a lot of the same players, some new players, a bit more experienced, a little bit less inexperienced when you talk about being streetwise in international football, and especially when you're going deep into tournaments. And I just feel, yeah, I've got a funny feeling they could do really well. Like I said earlier, Rowan, the only thing that concerns me a little bit is just the lack of game time that back four have played together. So a lot of work's going to be needed to be done with them about the shape, about different scenarios. When one steps in, do they squeeze, or do they narrow up, or do they squeeze out? So there's going to be different strategies in place. But there's, like I say, with Kyle Walker, with John Stones, with Kieran Trippier, you know, Pickford, there's a lot of experience in and around that. So I'm sure they'll find a way to be successful. And when they've got difficult situations, they'll find solutions, because that's what being a top player is all about.
Absolutely. Final one, I just want to know a few predictions from you. Who might be the top goal scorer? Who can go the distance and lift the cup? How far do you see England going?
I think it's going to be between Mbappe and Kane, top goal scorer.
Yeah.
Just because I think they've got the best two squads. I think they've got the supply line into them two players is going to be excellent. And that, you know, you look at the standards that they set themselves, both at PSG and for France, and obviously with Tottenham, and also into Bayern Munich and with England. I just think them two are going to be the standout strikers. What was the next question, Rowan?
And do you see England lifting the trophy this time?
I do, but I don't think I wouldn't say I'm overly confident. I think there's some very good teams. I think they've got if they click and they defend well and stay humble and rotate, because, you know, it's a squad game. If they rotate the squad well, and that's down to the management and the coaching staff, I think they've got as good a chance as literally anyone. Maybe slight favourites of France, but yeah, I think they've got a great chance to win it. And if they did win it, I wouldn't be surprised.
Absolutely. And I really hope it happens, Trevor. Thank you so much for your time. I asked for 10 minutes of your time, but we went to 20. But it was a lovely chat, and hope England wins this tournament and we can again catch on for another interview. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, Rowan. Bye.
Thank you, Trevor. Thank you.